Stephen Roberts joins us, ABC News political analyst. Good morning, Stephen Roberts.
Hey, McGraw.
Seems like Republicans hold their nose and will and let Donald Trump say and do anything they want and will justify it, except tariffs. You're starting to see Republicans, at least some, publicly come out against Donald Trump and these tariffs.
Well, you're right about that because free trade has been the absolute bedrock principle of the Republican Party for generations. Trump's embrace of protectionism with the tariffs on steel and aluminum, threatening to put tariffs on imported automobiles from Europe, threatening to put tariffs on other key industrial components from China, has struck at the heart of what it means to be a Republican. Business interests, which have been the core of the Republican Party since its founding, have always relied on free trade. America is 5% of the world's population. Every American industry, whether it's agriculture, whether it's farm equipment, whatever it is, depends very heavily on exports for economic health. And it goes beyond simply the economics. There's also a sense that when you trade with countries, you develop other relationships, cooperative relationships. Our alliances with Europe aren't just about trade; they're about a common sense of how you approach the world, a common sense of interest, a common sense of cooperation, militarily, diplomatically, as well as economically. And when you start putting on tariffs, you jeopardize not just your economic relationships, but these larger diplomatic and military relationships. And that's one of the reasons why you're absolutely right. There are a number of Republicans deeply alarmed at the approach this administration is taking.
Stephen Roberts, you talk to people in the farm community, you talk to Trump supporters, and they say it's all bluster. He's negotiating. He's playing the game. He's being a tough negotiator. He's really threatening, but he'll never really do it.
Well, that is a point of view. And the president himself would, and some of his economic advisors, Larry Kudlow, over the weekend, his economic advisor said the same thing. This is all negotiating tactics. But in the end, one of the real risks here is the president doesn't understand, because he has no experience whatsoever dealing in international politics. If he takes some of the principles that he learned dealing with real estate developers in New York and trying to apply them internationally. Look at what's happened with Canada, where the Prime Minister of Canada over the weekend was deeply insulted and offended by the president's tactics and the allegation that somehow you have to apply tariffs on Canadian steel because of national security reasons, the implication being that the United States cannot depend on Canada as a firm national security partner. There are elements of international diplomacy, elements of dealing with independent countries and elected leaders that go far beyond the president's experience. And I think he just is showing his amateurism and his lack of experience in thinking that he can apply the same kind of bullying tactics he did in the real estate industry to international relationships.
The other thing, too, is if they know it's a negotiating ploy, right? If I know the guy on the other side of the table from me is only threatening and would never cut off his nose, then doesn't that put me in a position to say, go ahead, do it, right? And there's sort of like a mutually assured destruction, and it hurts you more than it's going to hurt me.
Well, that's the risk. Donald Trump thinks that he said at one point, trade wars are easy to win. It was one of the most absurd out of many absurd statements he's ever made. Trade wars are never easy to win. They're easy to lose, but they're never easy to win. In fact, no one ever does win a trade war because the retaliation of tariffs freezes up the international commercial situation. And at the heart of America's prosperity has long been its ability to sell its products and its services. This is not just about products, whether it's soybeans or motorcycles. This is also about services. America leads the world in financial consulting, in insurance, and all sorts of services that are a key part now of our export balance sheet. And when you acquire a reputation, as the president is acquiring, for bullying and unreliability and unpredictability, he says, unpredictability is a great asset. Not in business. Around the world, people are saying, we can't deal with this guy because we don't know what he's going to do. Business needs predictability. It needs steadiness. It needs to understand what the playing field is going to be in order to invest safely and make deals. When you're dealing with a president as mercurial and as reckless as this one, it sends shudders through the entire international economic climate. And that's why so many people, including our closest allies, very anxious, very nervous, very upset with the president's negotiating tactics.
Stephen Roberts, we'll leave it there for today. ABC News political analyst with us every Monday. Stephen, have a good day.